What is up, everybody? Scape211 here with another Mech Arena video. Today I wanted to talk about somebody you get pretty early in the game, but a mech you unlock, and that is Ares. This dude is pretty beefy, and honestly he'll feel similar in quite a few ways to Juggernaut. But, you know, with a few different things to consider that are different. So, first of all, he's about the same speed, and he's about the same size as him. He has the same energy as Juggernaut. But the main difference is his health and his shield. It's kind of swapped. Whereas Juggernaut has a lot of health and a small shield, Ares has less health and then a bigger shield. And that is one of the major differences, how their shield and everything works. The shield is one that protects him and some friendly units around him. So he, provides some team support, whereas Juggernaut will just shield himself. Much like Juggernaut, though, he is vulnerable in the back. Both of them really just shield right in front of themselves, so their back is susceptible to enemy fire even when they're shielded. This is tougher for Ares just because he does not have as much health as Juggernaut does, but it allows him to push, at certain times when it's important for him and his team. And, the benefit of Ares and his shield is that it is considered like flexible health, like I've talked about before, where it's health that you can turn on, use for a certain level of gunfire, and then it'll recharge itself and come back. So that's really beneficial. One of the other key differences between his shield and Juggernaut's. Juggernaut's shield is smaller, but when you turn it on, it stays on until it's exhausted or it depletes, and then it starts charging back up. Ares, on the other hand, has a limited time for his charge. I believe the shield stays up for about 12 seconds, and then it has to recharge for 15 seconds. So there's a big gap in between when you can use it, and since he's slow, you don't really want to be caught in a situation where you have a lot of enemy fire with no cover, no protection of other guys, etc., etc. So, there's a few different ways you can use him. One is generally just defending, since he's going to be outside of combat unless it's like the middle point here and there. It'll give him time to recharge his shield and be ready for when an enemy comes. The center choke point is tough for this, but the side choke points work pretty well. And if you're good enough, you can stand your ground in the center too. It's just harder just because enemies can come from all sides, and since he can only protect his front, it means it's very easy for people to get around him behind that shield and take him out. The other way you can use the shield is pushing contested points with teammates, by and large. That's really the way to do it. If you and a teammate are going to go at the enemy who is protecting a post, you put up your shield, they run close to you, you charge in, mostly taking some of their gunfire as well as getting free hits on them, and they won't really be able to hit you. You should be able to kill most mechs this way without having too much in the way of damage or casualties. It's a great way to take a heavily contested point, but it requires a little bit of teamwork. You can do it yourself, but it's not as easy since you're slower, and since you don't have intense amounts of energy. Yours is just average. Some of the bigger mechs, it can be hard to do this, but if it's just like, a smaller mech or maybe a medium-sized mech by itself, you should be able to take them out 1 versus 1 and then get that cap point. I just find it easier, better, of course, to have teammates when they can help you in the right situations. Thirdly, I would say you can do those hit and run style of attacks. This guy is much slower at it, but he also is more dependent or more, I would say, effective when he's actually in the hit part. He's just slow on the run part. Whereas someone like Paragon has it down, where his boost will come in and he'll charge and he'll be able to hit for high damage and then fade away. This guy will slowly come in, put up his shield, do some decent damage, and then hopefully get away before he takes damage. So it can be tricky, but I've done some hit and run stuff with him. On the bigger, more open maps, this is harder to do, but on smaller maps or maps where you have a lot of cover, this is easy to kind of poke around corners, do some damage, and then go back while your shield recharges. He's not the easiest to do with it just because he has more downtime, because you have to wait for his shield to charge, but he's not bad. So that said, there's different ways you can run him. I've seen him work with all different kinds of weapon loadouts on him. He can work with a set of like lasers or something else long range if you mainly want to play backup or support to guys, or if you have a long stretch where you just want to be shielded and still get in solid damage. He works well for that. Mid-range is what I tend to use the most on him. It does serviceable damage, and it's the most flexible for me, whether I'm going to do hit and run or whether I'm going to work with my team or whether I'm going to defend. A lot of medium-range weapons work well there. Specifically, I use the Challenger and the Carbiner just because this can work, even though it's, you know, that's the weird thing about this gun. It shows that the optimal range is quite small, but this works at medium to even some long range battles. I'm wondering if that's just like a visual bug or something like that with the weapons. You can also do close range weapons if you want to focus more on the hit and run style, like Bone Dust. But I like to have Bone Dust on other guys that'll use it a little bit better. So that's generally the loadout I go with Ares. So we're going to jump into a match. I'll show you how I use him. First, I'm going to start with someone fast. So I'm going to use Killshot. You'll kind of see how I play with him first. And then after we have a couple points, I'll get Ares. Just because he walks so slow, he's usually not a great one to start with because you can't cap points very fast. You're better off using someone weaker for the match. Go. So let's use Killshot first. See if we can get a cap point or two. If I can get this guy and then get to the center before my opponent, that is ideal. Doesn't always work that way. We'll see, though. I'm probably the closest versus most of my team, aside from maybe that guy up there. He's still got some... Oh, he's pretty close to... Oh, dang. Well, that didn't work out too well for me just because he had Bone Dust and I wasn't ready for that. But I ended up killing him, surprisingly. I'm surprised by that. I got the kill on him. Gosh. No, I didn't kill that guy. I'm sure I did a lot of damage to him, and that's why he's running away. Look at that. Wow. Alright. Did decent there with him, though the enemy came up on me. It allowed me to take care of some of their quick threats. So now we'll get Ares, and we'll try to wreak some havoc here. I see an Ares up there, waiting for him to drop his shield, and I can get some easy shots on him. This one comes in on me. I will just put up my shield, but I can also get in on this guy. He definitely doesn't have a shield up, and that makes it easier for me to get mine on him. I got two of them shooting at me. That makes it trickier, but I am definitely sporting more damage against this guy that I'm right up against, so that gives me a little bit of benefit. He wants to be closer to me, so I'm going to try to keep my distance. My weapon can reach a little bit further, so that's nice, beneficial for me. This guy is going to try to get at me right here. That must have been the other guy who was down there before. Easy one to quickly take out there. And you can see, I mean, I'm not really pushing just because I'm by myself. I'm able to do some good damage on these guys and create a problem. I'm hoping that my guys, actually I'm going to help them because they don't seem like they're quite there. Oh, good. We got a guy who's on the position. That's ideal. And I'll help him just so that we can make a difference here. We got a guy healing us. Nice. We got a good setup here. And this guy can actually shoot, so that's good. Because that guy is problematic if you don't get to shoot him. Good luck, buddy.
Killing spree.
I've been there before. Made a mistake like that, got in a bad position. But right now, me and this Ares are doing pretty well at holding this point. One thing I didn't make as a comment before, if you have some Ares back and forth, you using one and your opponent another co-player having another one, in the right situation, you can actually swap shields back and forth where you use a shield and he does, and cover your team and yourselves quite well with that. But looks like I'm probably going to lose it here just because I've taken a lot of damage.
You have 2 minutes remaining.
Still up, just barely though. That guy's going to kill me though. Yep. But I think it worked out pretty well. We're in the lead. It's a tight lead, but we'll see how we do here. If we can keep that, if we can. That's ideal.
Mech eliminated.
Gosh, I used that right away just to deal with that guy, and now I'm going to be in trouble here if I go right in place of it without having a. shield on it. Gosh, there's going to be trouble here. Oh, this is doing all right. We're doing okay here. Good luck for me. Or, yeah, I had the good luck on that.
Holding position.
What else do I got here? Enemies coming up on me? Doesn't seem like it yet. There's one guy back there. That guy's on top of him. That's good.
Activated. There is 1 minute left.
So we have the lead, which is awesome. I'm going to move in with this guy. We'll see if we can make that lead even better. At least to push on them.
Holding position.
Good. Good, good, good.
Activated.
All right, we are doing well.
You
Nice.
have won the match.
All right, that went pretty well. As you can see, Ares did a good job at defending, and I tried to use, like I had said before, the flexibility of our distance at times to really take care of enemy mechs and only pull up my shield when I need it. But when we got to the point of defending that middle spot, Ares did a great job at holding long enough for support to get there and for us to, even though we lost it briefly, get it back pretty quickly and take a nice win. It really gave us that lead over them. As you saw in the middle, we were pretty much 50-50 in there. We just had a slight lead, and then we jumped much further up, and I think largely because we were able to hold that center point, and Ares did a good job of that. So, I mean, really, Ares is, you want to think of him as a beefier mech, but one that has the flexibility of defending or pushing on the enemy a little bit more than Juggernaut does, just because you have health that you'll be able to easily get back yourself. You don't have to rely on an MD or something like that to heal you. Ultimately, that's how I see Ares being used and how I use him effectively. But if you guys have any strategies you use or anything you want to say, feel free to comment below. All right, we will see you all on the battlefield.